introduce your friend?
Absolutely.
Can you do that? Go for it.
Right now, I would like to introduce you to a man that I really respect. I have a lot of admiration for. Everything he touches helps a lot of people, and I think that's like so cool. You know, so to me, one of the leaders of the people that really want to make a difference. I want to introduce you to John Paul, one of my best friends.
All right,
Danny, thank you very much. You got your zoot suit on, man. That's a vato. Danny Trey, one of the most unusual and great human beings on the planet. Many years ago, like going back a few thousand years ago, we had a fellow on our planet named King David. Didn't know him, too old, but know the story. And he wanted to find out and give common man, which was all men almost at that time, the secrets to life. So he got together a dozen of the smartest people of the land, got them all together and said, okay, we have to get out the message of the secret of life. I want you all to go out there, write a book, write something, come and bring it back to me. So several years went by and they came back and they had 12 different books. And King David, being wise, said, well, this isn't going to work because most of the people are illiterate and it's just too complicated. Why don't you all get together and make it a little shorter? And they went back and came back 5 years later. These older guys are getting older and they have it all in one book. King David says that's not going to cut it because most people cannot read or write. Let's make it even quicker and shorter. They went out, came back a few years later, ready to die, these guys, and it's down to a chapter. King David says, hey, we're almost there, keep going. They came back again. He said, you finally got it. It was one sentence. He says, that is the secret to life. And that one sentence read, there ain't no free lunch. You know, I was on CNN here a short time ago, and they asked me, will JP represent the 1%? And what do you think about the 99% here during this election year versus the 1%? And I said, well, that is one of the biggest bunches of baloney I have ever heard. It's not the 99% versus the 1%. It's we the people of the United States of America. It's written. It's written. We the people of the United States of America. So whenever the politicians or business people, or no disrespect, news commentators, get on there and say the 1% versus the 99%, let's take more from the 1%, give them to the 99%, is the worst thing that could ever happen. When I see presidents or just people talk about that, it's really, really sad because they forget it's we the people. So when I went on the air, I said, hey, I'm not representing the 1%, I'm representing the 99% and the 1%. I still work. I came from being homeless and being fired from jobs several times. So it's we the people, no more 99% and 1%. That's a political thing to get votes. That's a political thing to disrupt things, to call attention off other things. It's we the people. Isn't it the American dream to own your own house? Maybe have a shot at being a millionaire, let alone a billionaire? It's we the people. So I thought during my presentation, we have a lot of astute people in this room here, and we have some people like me that are ordinary people, and we have some very successful people, and I'd like to, first of all, give you my definition of success. Success is not how much money you have or how much power you have. Success is how well do you do what you do on an ongoing basis. You can be the most successful janitor in the world and be a blooming success. When I was in high school, I went to John Marshall High School, worked most of my life, and I worked for Stewart's Cleaners. I'm the guy that swept the floors, cleaned everything up, polished the machines, put the drape on the hanger. And one day Stewart came to me after high school and said, Johnny, I've got to talk to you. He said, I was going up to the mezzanine last night, I worked late, and I laid down on the cot up there. Took my watch off, put it on the table, and fell on the floor. I went and picked it up, and I noticed under the cot there was no dust. He says, I moved it, and I looked behind some file cabinets, there was no dust. You happen to be cleaning this place as if, I was watching you every single moment. I said, well, Stuart, my $1.25 an hour is something I'm working for. By the way, he would have paid me 50 cents an hour because he was very tight. But the law said you have to pay a kid $1.25. I said, sir, I appreciate my job. I do a good job. He says, you not only do a good job, you do better than a good job. He says, I'm going to give you a 25-cent raise. So he took me from $1.25 to $1.50 an hour. Now, where I went to high school, I was probably the highest paid kid in the school, maybe even above the teachers. I mean, that was a lot of money in my day. But it's because I did what I should do as best I could every single time. Now, I'll tell you a little story of how I got into John Paul Mitchell Systems and then to Patron with $700 and just a couple little ideas to let you know that the basics still work. I do not have email. That's by choice. I would be inundated with all the things that I do, so there's no email there. When I started John Paul Mitchell Systems, I knew I needed $500,000. This was in 1980. We had been in the industry and I knew it. So I had everything all lined up. I had the silk screener, the bottle maker, the filler, everybody completely lined up to go to work. And went down that day to start everything, and long story short, if you see the movie, it's all in there, is the man changed his mind. We did not get a penny. And I'd stopped doing everything I was doing before, left a nice car with my wife, who I did not get along with, left her and my child all the money, because I was doing pretty good in life, took the used car, and a couple $100, because there was $500,000 down the street. It never came in. He changed his mind because inflation in 1980 and 81 in the United States was 12.5%. Unemployment, 10.5%. Interest rates, if you could get a loan, prime rate, 17%. And we waited in line to get gasoline. Not a very good time. So how the world do you start a company with just a few dollars? I'll make a very long story short because I want to let you know today how you can start a major company today and compete with some of the biggest people in your industry by using them as your friend and your partner. So we had so little, very long story short, less than $50 bought me a telephone answering machine. A friend's house with a telephone bought me a location for it. A young lady that I knew with a British accent was my voice on the machine. Hi, John Paul Mitchell Systems. How are you doing? With just a beautiful, beautiful English voice. I can't give you her voice here, but she was great. So when you called, we looked like we were bigger. There was just me, the businessman, and my partner, Paul Mitchell, was a hairdresser. And that was it. We had no money. So we had to have an office, a telephone answering machine, voice on it if someone foreign sounds like you're even bigger than you are. How about for stationery, for billing, what do? We didn't have computers in those days. You had to set type. I went to a typesetter. For less than $5, he would set John Paul Mitchell Systems, P.O. Box 10597, Beverly Hills, California, and so forth. And that cost $5. And then each copy was 4 cents. And you could draw on there your invoices. So now we had an invoice for $16 a P.O. Box, and we were in business. Answer machine, less than $50. P.O. Box, $16, and maybe total with the print shop, I may have spent $20 for the typesetting and the photocopies and the drawings. So one can basically go into, now how do you sell your product? Well, in my case, I had everything set up for 30-day credit, but I did not tell the person at that time that, hey, we didn't have any money. I just said, instead of 100,000 bottles, give me a sample run of 10,000. Same with the silk screener, same with the filler. They said, sure, JP, no problem. We understand the sample run. We had to do black and white because we couldn't afford the extra in color. Worked out okay. Went to the guy with the artwork and said, hey, we only have we told him the truth, we have $700, and that's it. And your artwork's 1,000. Can we give you a few hundred and we'll pay you back at the end of the month when we sell some products? Nope, I'll take all 700. You need the artwork, you're not gonna have your products, and I may never ever see the other 300. So there we were, a few $100 in my pocket, but we had the artwork. From the time the trigger was pulled, we had the artwork. And I called up Setco, the bottle maker. From the time the bottles went to the silk screener till they went to the filler, took 2 weeks, and that's really expediting it. I put it all in the back of my funky car and drove right up Ventura Boulevard in the San Fernando Valley, going beauty salon to beauty salon, knocking door to door, selling my product. Well, it took me a few days because we were unknown, but I had a very good product. I presented it like a gem. Shampoo one. Anyways, after a while, I sold 12 different salons. It took me a few days to do it. But anywhere from $20 to maybe $125 orders, little ones, but 12 of them. Left the line open on the check that said who it was to. Just kept the checks. Went to a huge beauty supply house in Los Angeles, Paris Ace Beauty Supply. Walked in there and made my presentation from my 3 little bottles of what I had to the gentleman, Jim Hendrietta, who ran it. He said, well, this is really, really great. You have a nice story, but why should I take on your line when this industry has the big ones like Red Kindling, Curtis, Revlon? He went on and on and on and on. He says, I'm not going to build a line for you guys. Nice presentation. Thank you. You're a nice guy, but why should I do that? Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out 12 checks, put each one in front of them, and I said, because that's your first 12 orders and they're made out to you. They want to buy my product. You get the money, I don't. And if you only buy, we were really hard up. If you'd only buy $2,000 from us, you can have the exclusive on all of Southern California. I mean, we were really stretching. Anyway, so he laughed his head off and said, okay, but you better show up and sell them with my people. I said, of course I will. You already got your first 12 customers. I said, but there's one more thing I need. We're a new company. Can I get the money when I drop off the product? Oh my God, we're Paris Ace Beauty Supply. We pay our bills in 45 days. Anyways, I said, I'll be here every single day till I sell the product. Now, would that be okay to help a person out that's just starting out? And I nodded my head and I looked him in the eye, trying to do all the cool things. He goes, okay, he laughed his head off. Well, we brought him to our 25th anniversary a little over a decade ago, and the way he said it was, so JP walks out of my office, I'm still laughing my head off. 5 minutes later, I get a call from my warehouse man. He says, Jim, there's some guy back here who put a bunch of products called Paul Mitchell on our dock. He wants a check. He says, he was just in my office 5 minutes ago. Laughing his head off, handed us a check, and that's kind of a very long story short, how we got going. And I lived in my car for a couple of weeks, and a wonderful lady named Joanna Pettit had heard about that and was jogging one morning and knew where I was parked and came by and said, I didn't believe you were doing really good in life. Then I told the story how I was too proud to say to my mom, Mom, I'm down and out. Can I have my own room back? You know, Mom, because I did go by and say, Mom, can I borrow $350? She says, oh, son, why do you need it? You're doing so good. I was too proud to tell her, nope. I left the house and the situation, gave her all the money, and Mom, I'm starting a new company and I'm on the street. Can I have my old room back? Will you feed me? Well, of course she would say yes, but I was too proud. I didn't want to do that. So I slept in my car, and then Joanna gave me a room, which kind of helped out a little bit. It was good. As we moved down the line there on Patron Tequila, how did Patron get going? Well, I helped a fellow out named Martin Crowley, who went bankrupt in the hospitality business. And Martin was a great designer, great artist. So we had a business called our architectural business. And we would go down to Mexico, Martin did mainly. He would buy pavers and furniture, come back and sell it to stores, restaurants, and architects for their model homes. Pavers, furnitures, things of this nature. So Martin was going down there, and I was getting ready to build a place in Malibu, and I said, Martin, when you go down there, we're drinking now what we thought was the best tequila. It was a little harsh. Why don't you see what the aristocrats drink and bring back a couple of those bottles? So Martin brings back these 2 long, thin bottles, and they were pretty smooth. I said, wow, that's smoother than anything we've ever had. And Martin said, I met this guy named Francisco Alcaraz, who could make it even smoother. I said, really? Well, let's check that out. And he did. So I thought, well, let's give this a shot. Even though it's very expensive, let's go to the tequila business, and I'll order 1,000 cases, which is 12,000 bottles. And if it doesn't sell, well, for 10 years, everybody I know, I'll give you a baby or a dog, you get a bottle of Patron, a christening here, a bar mitzvah here, you get married here, your birthday, you're 3, who cares? You know? Everybody for every occasion. I'm good for present for 10 years. We went out there. And for entrepreneurs, this is good to know because there's a couple things I want to relay to you. And one is, be prepared in your life for a lot of rejection in anything you do. Because if you're prepared for it and it comes along, it's not going to affect you as much. Nobody wanted to carry Patron. In those days, the average tequila was $5 a bottle, the really good one, $12, $13, $14. We had to sell it because of its quality and the way we had it made, what it was made out of, for $37 a bottle in 1989. And everyone said, no one's going to buy it. Yeah, maybe the best, but it's too expensive. We finally found, off the radar, we didn't go after spirit people now. We went after the next level, wine people. Wine people go where spirits people go. So we convinced a wine dealer in LA to take on our product and sell it. He said, okay, and of course we went out with him to help him. Now I went to Spagos and talked to my friend Wolfgang Puck. And Wolfgang says, JP, I'll carry your tequila and turn on all my celebrity friends to it because it is the best there is. Martin went to Bong Cantina down in Marina Del Rey. They did the same thing. And then we went door to door, bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant. I'd have a little briefcase with a bottle of Patron in it. I would walk in, and you could do this in California. I would buy the bartender a shot of tequila. Those days was like $3, no big deal. And then he'd go, thank you. Then I'd say, give me an empty glass, and he would. And I'd take from my briefcase and I'd pour some Patron in it. Say, taste that. He goes, wow, that's really smooth. That's the tequila of the future. Well, after a couple of years with Wine Warehouse and a couple thousand cases a year, we said, guys, we got to switch distributors. We're just not growing. No problem, we understand. It's just difficult, even though it's the best. We took on Jim Beam, the big Jim Beam, and they had a whole bunch of the big distributors that they sold their product to. They agreed to sell our product. After a couple of years, they were doing 12, 13,000 cases a year. We said, guys, we really want to do, 30, 40, 50,000 cases a year. And they said to us, it's not going to happen. The most you'll ever sell is maybe 20,000 cases a year, because it is the best there is, there's no question, but it's too expensive. We said, okay, no problem. So we dropped Jim Beam and we took on Seagram's, the big Seagram's company. And they built us up to 70,000 cases a year. And at that point, we went to court, we bought them out of their contract and took it over. Today, Patron does 3 million cases a year. And is the largest company in our nation. And a lot of people say, well, God, can we give you 3-4 billion for your company? We said no. If you want to take a look at Patron, you got to start at 5 billion up. And we met somebody, well, listen, we may just do that. I said, well, we really don't want to do the due diligence on it. You want to hand us a check? We'll look at it. In other words, when you start with it, it'll never do more than 20,000 cases a year by the experts. And then all of a sudden, at the other end, someone's offering you billions of dollars. It goes to the second point, besides being ready for a lot of rejection. And by that, understand, you knock on 100 doors. If they're closing your face, on door number 101, you're just as enthusiastic as you were on the first door, because you're prepared already for a lot of rejection. The second thing was, it's a lot to do with Paul Mitchell's success and Patron's success. Number 2, do not be in the selling business. Be in the reorder business, where when you put your product or your service together, it's put together in such a way where your service or your product is the best there is. So if someone uses it, they'll want to reorder it. That's how you stay in business. Not what do I have to do to sell it, what do I have to do, yes, to sell it, but to make sure I'm in the reorder business. So it's so customer friendly, they love the quality of that. And when people do that in life, it's amazing what happens. And along the way, as a manager, you want to think about your people also. I know I don't have enough time for a management seminar, but I love to throw out just a couple of most important things to being a manager, whether it's in your own personal life or in your corporate life, in any kind of life, is to be a great manager, is to be one that fully takes care of people the way you want to be taken care of. I'll give you 2 examples. One, if any time someone screws up, you want to reprimand them. Reprimand them behind closed doors, one-on-one. Only the two of you. You tell people in a public environment or with anyone else around how they screwed up, how bad they are, they're not going to like you. It's called covert hostility. They will stab you in the back if they could and get away with it. In other words, you want people to love you. When you reprimand, it's behind closed doors, one-on-one. But you want to reprimand them so when they walk out, they're happy. Now, how do you tell someone they screwed up, but when they walk out of the office, they're happy? Once again, one-on-one. Second of all, have 3 things ready before they walk in. The first is what they did wrong. Sometimes people do something they think is right, but they did it wrong. Explain to them what they did wrong. Second of all, how you would like it done and why. Here's how we'd like to do it here and why. The third is the most important of them all, and you got to have this in your mind before they walk in. What do they already do really good anyways? Example, Mary, you're in here every single day, everyone loves you, you show up on time, you're incredible, but Mary, sometimes when you answer the phone, you're not smiling. It's like, hi, John Paul Mitchell Systems. Hi, John Paul Mitchell Systems. Mary, you are so cool, you do everything so perfect. I would automatically expect people to have that beautiful smile out of you with every phone call that comes in. You're great, Mary. Mary walks out, Mary's happy. It's the opposite I'm praising. If someone really screws up, you know how to handle it. What if someone did something wrong right? Try and hold it back if possible to acknowledge them when someone else is around. Now, if they're here and someone's like 20 feet away and you talk loud enough and they hear it, the person you're complimenting knows that others are hearing the same thing. They feel wonderful. So whenever you compliment or praise somebody, do it loudly and in front of as many people as you possibly can. Also, those of you that are starting new businesses, I want to introduce you to a word called powwow if you're not already doing it. Once a week. Could be any time, beginning of the week, end of the week. Get your whole posse to get everybody together in a room and just have a little powwow. Guys, we're building a business here. Is there any suggestion you might have on how we can do things better? And by the way, if there's ever a confidential one, you have a little box here. I have a box right here. You can put any suggestion in there that you want. You don't have to sign it. This way it lets people, when they're unable to talk to you in front of somebody else, they're afraid of what someone else will think, they can still give you that, and it constantly flows and flows. First chance you get, start doing things for your people. At Paul Mitchell, we have free lunch. At Patron, we have free lunch. At John Paul Pet, free lunch. Start taking care of your people, giving them things that are really special for them. Today, can you start a business the way we did in 1980 with Paul Mitchell, or something like Patron in 89, when everyone says, well, the market is saturated? Well, you started with that sizzle on your steak, as you probably know. We're selling steaks, but the sizzle's going to get people in. But more important, how can you do it today in today's environment with today's competition? How could you possibly start a business there? And let's say you have not a lot of money, but you do have somebody get something going, but all of a sudden the big giants control everything. How do you do that? I could give you an example of my latest venture, and probably in a few years, it has the opportunity to be the largest thing I have ever done. And it's called ROK, R-O-K Mobile. And I'll tell you what ROK Mobile is, and I'll tell you how we were able to put it together with these giants as our partners. Well, if all of a sudden you knew as a small business that, God, there's very few fringe benefits I could offer my staff. I don't have enough money for medical insurance, for life insurance, for burial insurance, and things of this nature, but I want to give them something nice. Or if you're down in the barrio and you have one telephone, and we have this one phone, guys, and we pay monthly for it, and we only make so many phone calls, so much texting, a little bit of data. No kids, we cannot put Spotify music on there, it costs extra money. And as we look at all these various things on helping people out with one thing that covers all this and more. Here's what ROK Mobile is, ROK Mobile. Look at it as an app. You all know what apps are. I don't, but I kind of. Here's what it is. For $49 a month, period, with no contract. Very important. No contract means if it doesn't work, you dump it. $49.99 a month, no contract. All your phone calls domestically, you pick the carrier. It can be like one carrier works better over here, your other carrier works better over here. These are the big carriers, the majors, okay? So all your phone calls domestically, you pick the carrier, 500 international minutes, all your texting, all your data, high speed up to I think it's 3 or 4 Gs, then it slows down. All your music like Spotify, over 20 million songs. $100,000 worth of accidental life insurance, $20,000 worth of burial insurance in case you don't die by accident. Telemedicine, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, there's a doctor on the phone with you on your smartphone, talking to you, diagnosing you. If you need a prescription, they'll call it in for you, and you can get up to a 75% discount on that prescription. If you're in bad shape, they'll say, go to the emergency hospital, you look really, really bad. $1,000 worth of legal advice and roadside assistance. $49.99. For a small business, it's a dream come true. Are you kidding? $50 a month per person that's involved with me to have all this? Hey, it's a fringe benefit. I'm gonna give you a cell phone, I'm gonna give you insurance. I mean, it's affordable for many people. It's a dream come true. We could do a whole bunch of music and everything very reasonably. Now, how can something like this be put together? By the way, I'm gonna give you 2 parts. That's one part. The other part is the hardware that's a big game changer for the world, and we'll tell you second. That's the first one. How do we pull that one off and get these giant phone companies who you guys have right now as your carriers, as our partners? How does that work? In the industry, and here's how we put the pieces together, there is a challenge they have. All cell phone companies have this challenge. It's called the churn, where 20 to 25% of their business every year turns over, called the churn. Well, they lose it because someone's got a better deal, a better this, a better that. We have the patent on insurance on any mobile cellular device. We own the patent on that. We applied for it. So they can't get that. But also, if people went to rock, why would you ever want to change? Why would you ever want to change off of rock and go someplace else? It makes no sense. You got the person. So the big phone company now got some of their customers back, and maybe some of somebody else's customers back. And chances are they're not going to lose it. Now, out of that $49, the biggest percentage paid out is to the phone companies. They get that check without expense. All they have to do is put it on their system. They get that check. It's bottom line every single month. So if, let's say 1 million of the people that chose to go on Rock Mobile picked that carrier, that's a lot of money extra coming in every single month, net to them, because it's net. It goes right to their profit line. That makes sense. The big studios, Warner Brothers, Universal, Sony, they already have all kinds of outlets. One more outlet is not going to hurt them. It's going to enhance them, because that's extra money for them or extra money for their artists. The insurance companies, and these are the big ones, not little fly-by-nights. These are some of the biggest in the world. They are the biggest in the world. The insurance companies that we have realize that with this potential, there could be millions more people than they have right now, and they can reduce the price because of that quantity that's out there. And when you go into quantity, we think of things like roadside assistance and things of that nature. So what one can do is to take today the giants, enter an industry you would think never compete with these guys, but use them and enhance them, embrace them, do something wonderful for them, and now you're all working together, and it saves you billions of dollars of infrastructure. The other half of changing everything over is your cell phone. Do any of you talk on the cell phone and hold the phone right next to your ear? You don't have to raise your hand, but if you do, it's not the best thing for you. They say hold it away. In Europe, I think they have conclusive proof that cell phones do radiate you. And in our country, they say we're a headpiece if possible, hold it away, because there is radiation. Well, NASA, North American Space Agency, we send astronauts in outer space, a lot of radiation up there. So they have fibers, they have different things they use to be able to block that radiation from radiating our astronauts when they're up there. They've been doing this for years. NASA and Rock have now come out in 3 months, a Rock NASA phone. And we have the technology and the patent on it. This phone has reduced the frequency to zip. So now when you have a phone, you can talk. That same phone with James Cameron and John Cameron as an Avatar, movies of that quality, these are great smart guys. They have the patent, and they're our partners on this new phone. They have the patent on a cartridge that's going to fit on top of your smartphone. That cartridge, if you smoke, it's your vaporized cigarette. But it's not out of what regular vaporizing is. It's made out of water, pharmaceutical nicotine, because that doesn't hurt your lungs, and flavor. You want a camel flavor, you want a Marlboro flavor, you want a menthol flavor. That cartridge, that same cartridge now, taken off, they're working on this technology to finish it. If you're a diabetic, no more insulin shots. That phone of yours is going to buzz when it's time to take your medication. And then instead of going to the bathroom and giving yourself a shot, you just vaporize it. Also have the patent on vaporization. In other words, where telephones alone are going, and the vast amount of people, whether it's in the space age or technology areas of all sorts around this world, are working together with innovation to change the world and be real disruptors. But by letting you know about ROC, the ROK Mobile, and how we put that one together, lets you know that you could look at an industry you're in right now and maybe grow, but there's some really huge competitors. Well, how about figuring a way to enhance their lives? They enhance your lives, and then together you can accomplish the end result that you want. It's working together hand in hand and doing as Americans. And I'd love to have the story told. This is my favorite story to tell. In New York, or I should say Washington, D.C., for the Raciality Awards, I told them they invited me to come back the next year and tell it again. And it really depicts who you are. And don't ever forget who you are. And maybe a spot American part of the world is in that kind of wants to be handled a lot of things socially. Nothing wrong with getting something for nothing, but it could ruin you in life and stop your life. And it's about the oyster and the eagle, and how when God created this planet, he created a species called the oyster. And he said, oyster, I'm going to give you the most perfect, social economic environment to live in. I'm going to give you a free house. This is real socialism. Free house, free clothes, free food. And you go to the bottom of the ocean, I'm going to put you there to protect you from your enemies. I'm going to protect you from your enemies and give you free clothes, free food, free everything. All you've got to do is open your mouth and food rushes in. You have protection from that shell. But oyster, you don't go anywhere. You sit at the bottom of the ocean. And then God said, I'm going to create the eagle. Eagle, whole different species. You go build your own house. You go build your own nest. God, how do I do that? I don't know, eagle. Figure it out. Go on top of a tree, on top of a mountain. You figure it out. And by the way, if you want to eat, go out there and find your own food. Now that eagle flies through, maybe in the wintertime, miles through rain, sleet, snow, wind, to get its food, to feed itself and its young. Few people know this. The eagle fails 95% of the time to get its food. It's so big and cumbersome, it comes upon the wild game. It's not like a hawk where it shoots right in. Big, starts landing, they feel it, they run away. But yet, it succeeds 5% of the time, but is the most powerful, well-fed bird that's ever existed. The only one that flies into a hurricane to ride the thermals for fun. Now the eagle, unlike the oyster, can go anywhere it wants. Anywhere it wants. And that's why the eagle and not the oyster is like on the emblem of the United States of America. And I think that's why the eagle and not the oyster is you. Because you decide to do the things others don't want to do and not look at the handout. And when you're down and out, there's ways to get out of it. I highly recommend that you go see Good Fortune. I think there's only going to be so many tickets available today, but it'll only be here in LA, I think, for another 3 or 4 days. Then you can actually go online to goodfortunemovie.com and I think advance order the DVD when it comes out. But it's something to see. I promise you can see how America works, how to get out of slumps when you are there. And I've got a couple of minutes if you want me to answer any questions if you're out of town.
This is it. No, not at all. There's only 100 seats available tonight. And there's, I think, 365 people here right now. There's the link. The link doesn't work.
Yeah, it does. Work for me. The link works, kid.
The link works. So if you put your name in there,
User.
so quickly, you want to see this movie. Elsie, would you see it again?
Absolutely.
Not tonight, because other people need to, okay? So don't do that. So do that right away. Questions? So I'm gonna ask the first one.
Sure.
I came in your office one day, and I don't drink tequila. And you had me try 2 different tequilas. They were yours, the Patrons, right? And one was not something you could buy, you said. It was like the special one. What was that? It was like, it was incredible. What was it?
Yeah, you gotta taste it. We found at the back of our warehouse barrels of Patron we forgot about. They're sitting back there for 15 years, and you don't keep tequila that long. It's very expensive to keep it. We pulled it out. It was, oh, this is unbelievable stuff. So we said, let's do something special. We went to a little league to make these handmade, gorgeous little big hand-carved bottles with agave plants on them. And we could only make 500 of those bottles. That's it. There's not enough for more than that. We sold them for $7,500 each. And they sold out in 1 day. So that's what you have.
That was pretty amazing. All right.
Fountain of youth.
Questions. Let's go over here.
Yes.
JP, hi, it's Michael Whitman.
Michael Whitman, hi buddy.
How you doing?
Haven't seen you in a couple of years, howdy.
It's been a while. I just want to tell everybody here that everything he said tonight is absolutely true. I was there. And I also remember the first time he turned me on to Patron. Walked into JP's party and standing there with 2 bottles behind his hand. He goes, gold or silver? You got an answer. And what the answer was, he would pour it from a foot above your head to get to the party. I had the greatest times of my life hanging with you and being with you. I want to tell you I love you and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. By the way, just a little quickie, if you don't know his story, many years ago, nobody ever thought of making a giant business out of tweezers. He started something called Tweezer Man in the professional beauty industry, just took it over with tweezers. Good story. Tweezer Man, that was a couple days ago. But you making it happen, buddy. You were, that's why we called you the Tweezer Man.
What's it like when you watch yourself in a movie?
Well, watching myself, when Adam Sandler asked me to play me in his movie, Don't Mess with Dejora, and he said, JP, I want to go to work for you. I said, okay, sounds like fun. When we did this one right here, with Joss, Rebecca, Tikel, it sounded like someone's got to get the message out, and I was very proud I could get the message out, because America needs that today. They need to know that you could fail, you could be fired, you could have really down slopes in your life, but you could turn things around. They need it. So when I watched it, I was very, very happy that whatever adversity I went through in my life to get me to where I am today, and be able to give back so much, could be an influence for others to do the same, especially the part about the success of charity is failure. So I was very, very proud that my life and everything that happened led me to that point. And then I had great guys like Danny and such as part of the movie, talking about reality.
Did you get a chance to hear Dolly talk about the shoes?
Yeah, I sure did. Brilliant, brilliant.
So she's here in LA.
Brilliant.
Because she says this is the hot spot, the epicenter.
Sure.
Why do you spend so much time in Austin?
Well, Austin is my home, and about 17 years ago, we looked over the United States for a place to raise our youngest son, John Anthony. We were living in Malibu at the time, and he was 3 years old, and we had a Hispanic nanny speaking to him in Spanish all the time, so he could learn 2 languages. Before he's almost 3 years old, Bamboo was a restaurant. They went down the hill on a Saturday afternoon. There's a line to get in. They spotted my son with the nanny, who doesn't speak hardly a word of English, brings him to the front of the line, gives him the best seat in the house. Did the same for Pierce Brosnan's son and Mel Gibson's son, and I thought, this is not the way to bring up my kid. He's going to be ruined for life. So his mom and I looked over the entire nation. Where do we want to live? She's a Texan. Family values why I moved to Austin. At that time, I was opening up Paul Mitchell schools throughout the whole United States. So I was traveling a lot. So from there, I'm 3 hours anywhere I want to be. They're also, by the way, very business friendly down there. Oh my God. And no state income tax. So it was just a bonus.
Keep it weird, right? Yeah, you gotta keep it weird. So here, you got a great crowd here. We want to appreciate you. Thank you for coming, obviously, right? Why isn't there many of you?
There are a lot more of me, you just don't know it. Okay, now, maybe not that went through some of the adversity I went through, and maybe not those that were fired as many times, but they are. In fact, there's one of our groups called the Giving Pledge. There's over 150 of us. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and quite a few people are members that you would never imagine. We have all pledged to give away 50% of our wealth while we're alive or after we die to change the world. And many of them, the Gates Foundation, Buffett, are all doing it right now. So a lot of those little 1%ers out there that people don't acknowledge are doing it. I'll give you another guy that gets a bad rap on TV, Charles Koch, Koch Industries. I sat down with him once at a lunch and there were like, I think 15 couples there. Chatted with this guy. He told me of all the stuff he did to make our nation a better place to live. I said, how come people don't know this? You always get the bad rap on oil, gas, which you probably deserve some of it, man, but you don't get any good accolades. He said, JP, I do get that information out, but no one wants to pick it up. There's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things, and I think it's going to get better. Obviously, there's a lot that aren't.
Last question, but first I want to thank Josh and Rebecca for producing a great movie. It's incredible. I want to thank Austin for coming out and showing what he's doing when it comes to the Pico projector technology, and he's an amazing guy. Valerie and Stevens for coming out here, watch what he's doing. John, thank you very much for bringing great food to the group. Make sure you're at the Kids Medal on the 22nd. These kids are going to blow your mind at what they're doing. They'll blow your mind too. These are incredible kids, all under 18. Okay, and then of course, the ninth planet, how we're going to rediscover that, that's on the 26th. Last question. You got this fortune, you got a lot of kids. Father's Day is crazy for you. All right, what are you going to leave them?
The best thing I could ever leave my kids is the answer to a question John Anthony, my youngest son in the kindergarten, came home and said to me. He said, Dad, the kids in school are saying we're rich. How rich are we? I said, son, I think the kids at school are referring to we've been fortunate and we have extra money. But son, let me tell you what rich is. Rich is how well you feel, how happy you are, and what you can do to bring the rest of the world along with you. Being here on the planet Earth, we pay a little bit of rent for being here. And the richness is, what can we do for others, not just ourselves? So when you go back to school tomorrow, please tell them that what we're all about is, riches, are you happy, are you healthy, can you help other people out? And do you love each other, is love in your life? We're very rich in that area. And the kid comes up and says, well, how about all the money? Saying, that's secondary. And walk away some with a smile and pat them on the back. In other words, it's basically that we've done something while we're here to make life better for a lot of people. And that's what we always should accomplish as a little legacy.
Beautiful job, Paul Dejora.